Hello, welcome to Monday Night Live. It's Yvonne Shepherd here. I can see we've got some people here already. So thank you for joining me. Today I have some trail talk back from my recent Couch to Mountain adventure. We had two groups head down to Kosciuszko National Park in New South Wales, and we had an absolute ball of a time. And we have some great stories that I'm going to share, but I'm also going to share trail talk because some of the questions that come up, not only in our Couch to Mountain program, but just generally coming across my desk each day, are really relevant. And I really encourage you to think particularly about tonight's one, because we can get set in I've been saying this for years, but set in our ways about distance and time. So I'm going to talk through that. Excuse me. So if you're watching live, hello Alethea, hot off the mark already. Please let me know where you're watching from. If you are watching for the very first time, please let me know that as well. And if you are watching on replay, I'd like to know that too. Excuse me, the tail end of a cough. So one of the things that I get asked all the time across every aspect of hiking is, how far is it? And I can answer that question and I can not answer that question. But even if I answer that question, it won't give you the answer that you're probably seeking. So what we know is that when we go for a walk in our suburb, we will maybe do, 2, 3, 4, 5 kilometre walk in our suburb, or perhaps hello Karen and hello Jelena, in our paddocks or countryside, wherever that might be. We generally have the same circuit that we walk, and it's really just our routine and exercise and daily movement. And so one thing that translates across all the time is that when we say today's hike is 5 kilometres, or if you look at an itinerary and the itinerary only says 8 kilometres or whatever that might be, the general tendency is to think that's not very far, that's easy, it's only 5, it's only 8 kilometres. And if you are a regular hiker, then perhaps 5 or 8 kilometres per day is, just standard. It's nothing that you would think twice about. But if you are a new hiker, or you are taking on a different trail or trail conditions that you haven't been on before, then it does beg to delve a little bit deeper with the questions that you should be asking before you head off. So when I get asked how far is it, I will say it depends. So on our recent Couch to Mountain, when we went to the summit, our summit day, depending which way we go in the weather conditions, is 20 to 22 kilometres in one day. Now, that is generally on part fire trail and part boardwalk, well-maintained path. Weather conditions can play a big part of it, but 22.28 roughly kilometres is what we do. And we take anywhere, bear in mind we're an introductory group of hikers for that adventure, anywhere from, of being out all day, 7 to 8 hours. So that's 22 kilometres. The next day we hike 5 kilometres, 5.5 kilometres. And it is on a single track. It is a very technical track. It is generally all uphill for that 5 kilometres as well. So there is more uphill over 5 kilometres than there is uphill over the 10 kilometres that it takes us to get to the summit. So technically it's twice as steep. So if someone says, and so if we break down our summit day, it's roughly 6 kilometres to Seaman's Hut, which is partway to the summit on the summit trail to Kosciuszko. So if you look at the two hikes side by side, 6 kilometres on a fire trail, 5 kilometres on this other trail, and they are vastly different. So if I had said to you it's 5 kilometres, and you look at that one and go, okay, that's easy. I walk 5 kilometres in my suburb. I do that in an hour, no problem. You go on a fire trail, suddenly the conditions under your feet are feeling very different. It's loose and gravelly, but perhaps not very technical. You're maybe exposed to a lot more elements than your footpath walking, and there may be some gradual incline. There certainly was on the weekend. So that may take you longer than an hour, and there's generally more to look at as well. It might take you, say, an hour and a half. Then you go on this other trail, which is 5.5, 6 kilometers. It's a single trail. It is uphill all the way. There's a fair bit of stairs. There's lots of stepping up, stepping over. It's quite muddy in parts as well. And that trail, roughly the same distance, stopping and having a look around just as we would on the other trail, can take 4 hours. So when someone says how far is it, what's the distance, and I just throw out there 5 kilometers, someone could be easily led to believe that it's a walk in the park. So I want you to, when you're looking at itineraries and starting to ask questions, have a think about all of that. And I use this one in Cinque Terre, and the Italians have it down pat, is they don't actually give you distance. They will give you outside moving time. So when we go to the Cinque Terre in Italy, on the coastline, on the side of the mountains there, we are out hiking all day. But there is one trail there that is 2 kilometers. We don't do this one. 2 kilometers, literally 1 kilometer up, 1 kilometer down, and that takes an hour. In Machu Picchu, behind Machu Picchu, a summit that we hiked, it is 1.5 kilometers up, 1.5 kilometers down, and it took us 3 hours to do that because it is 1.5 kilometers of stairs. It is at altitude as well. And then it is 1.5 kilometers coming down those uneven stairs as well. So 3 kilometers took us, 3 hours. 5 kilometers, or 5 to 6 kilometers took us 4 hours the other day. And then 6 kilometers took us, maybe an hour and a half to get to the hut. So you can see how all distances aren't created equal. So some of the things to look at, and let me see who's watching here. We've got Karen, we've got Kerry. Hi, Kerry. We've got Leonie. Hi, Leonie. Nice to see you again. Hello, Ellen. Hello, Vicky. And hello, Karen. We seem to have all the Ks happening. J, K, L, all in the alphabet. So some of the things to look out for, rather than ask the question of how far, ask the question, yeah, absolutely, Karen, I'm going to jump in there with that in a moment. Ask the question of how far, but what else? So Kerry's just popped it in here, but what else? The weight on your back, for example, a full pack certainly changes the time taken too. So if you are new to hiking and, just out there on the trails, you've probably got some water and some food in your backpack and hopefully a raincoat and a couple of safety things. But your pack is probably not more than about 4 kilos. But if you are doing a longer day hike, as in duration, you're out for hours, then you may have more in your pack. And the more you carry, the slower you will go because fatigue will settle in. You're carrying, imagine thinking, if your pack weighs 5 to 7 kilos, if you were carrying that weight on you as a person and walking around with that every day, you would be perhaps slower than what you would be without that weight. So that's a really good point, is to take that on. The other thing that might slow you down is the elements. You girls are on fire tonight. So heat. So one of the things that can slow you down and is really quite dangerous as well is heat. So, or the weather. So on our Couch to Mountain, both of the groups on the weekend or the last week, we endured some unexpected weather. The first group had a lot of rain and strong winds, and the group I was with had very heavy cloud and fog, and you literally couldn't see more than about 10 meters in front of you. And that cloud then turned to drizzle and wind as well. So got quite cool. So that slowed us down as well as we, went into the Siemens Hut and, warmed up a little bit and then continued on our way. So it slowed us down when you can't see for visibility. You can't get too far ahead from the back to the front. The heat certainly plays, as Alethea says there, a huge part in how long a trail distance might take you. So if you overheat or if the day is super hot and you're out in the elements, then, you're going to need a lot of water. You're going to need to carry a lot of water, more water, which feeds into Kerry's point as well. But heat can slow you down. That feeling of, even today out on our hike training, that feeling of, and yesterday when it was 35, it's like, I can't go as fast up those hills as what I normally go. And hello, Marianne from Canberra as well. So the things that affect that question of how far is the distance are the weather conditions. So the heat, the rain, the fog, the mist, the wind, and looking out for those as safety hazards as well. The other thing that can affect it is the terrain. So what is the surface like? Is it hilly? The more hills you have, the more you will, on average, slow the hike down. So you might be able to go faster on the flat and perhaps faster on the downhill, but slower on the uphill. Or you might find that the downhill is quite technical and you need to take a little bit more time and a little bit more care through there. And that can slow your average pace down. The bigger your group is, the slower that pace will go as well. So, when we look at an itinerary and go, 5 kilometers, in one morning, I can do that standing on my head. Just take note, because if we have that approach, then thinking all is easy. I don't have to train. I can be a little bit complacent because I can already walk 5 kilometers. I really encourage you to dig that little bit deeper to really take into account what the actual trail is that you're walking on. As we heard from Kerry, the heavier your pack. If you are going off track, so you're not following a path, then you may need to stop and look at navigation. You need to certainly look down at your feet to see what things you need to step over, under, around, or avoid as well. And perhaps getting lost would factor into that as well if you didn't know where you were going. So, if we think of all of the variables that can go into hiking and all of the things that make up trail distance, then it never in any way equates to footpath walking, suburb walking. Paddocks are a little bit different for those wonderful members and people watching who live on farms. You have that beautiful advantage of that uneven surface under your feet all the time when you walk, and sometimes probably things there even on a circuit that may not have been there the last couple of times that you did it, so you get that variability. But our footpath walking, when we're wearing boots on a trail, is very different to when we're wearing our sand shoes or comfy shoes when we go on a suburban walk as well. The other thing that can affect the difference between 5 kilometers here and 5 kilometers there. I said the weather, I said the pack, I said our footwear and our own preparation, our hiking fitness, the elevation gain and descent, but the technical detail of the trail. So stairs will slow you down. Scree will slow you down. So scree or volcanic ash will slow you down. So that really fine ground up dirt, that will slow you down. A rocky surface will slow you down. For example, the islands of Corsica, the islands of Crete, Larapinta Trail, all of those have rocky surfaces. Not only do they slow you down because you need to be a bit more careful about where you go, they're also hard, really hard on your feet. So you need to make sure that you have the right shoes, because if you haven't got the right shoes, then that's going to slow you down too, because you are, perhaps feeling every single little stone that you're standing on. So I really encourage you, when you see something that you like, or a hike that you like, and you look at the distance, and look at the time as well. So all national parks across Australia, they're all a little bit different, but generally similar. I think Tassie will actually underestimate, but all the rest are pretty much on par. They'll tell you the distance and they'll tell you the approximate time that it should take. So start when you're out there on the trail, start looking at that and going, that's 5 kilometers and that says that time, and then that's 5 kilometers and that says that time, and start to get your own bank of knowledge as to what that means. That one that I'm on regularly, and I know some of you there are on some beautiful trails regularly, that one that I'm on regularly, it takes me twice as long for the same distance as that one. What is it that's different about that one? Or what is it that's easier about that one? Or what is it that is, is it more exposed to the elements, all that sort of thing. So 5K is not 5K, and I really want you to think about that. And I did hear someone say to the other day, come with me on this one, it's only 5K a day on that one. And I'm like, no, it's not just only 5K, because there's a whole lot of other little nuances to it as well. So hopefully that has been helpful to you. Like I said, when we go to Europe, when we go to those places, we just measure our hiking in time. So time is 8 hours on the trail. That does not include stopping for lunch. That does not include stopping for photos. That does not include stopping for rests. So that I think the Europeans might have that best, because that then talks to endurance. It talks to being able to spend that amount of time physically moving on your legs. So that is my thing when 5K is not 5K, and that's all I really wanted to cover tonight. There is only next week left for our Monday Night Live for the year. So next week I'm going to share my top things that I have hiked this year, that I have learnt this year, that I have discovered this year, my top 3 hiking items as well. I'm going to share those with you next week on Monday Night Live. For our members who are watching, and hello Louise, don't forget there are Christmas parties happening across the country this coming week, so please log into those. And next week, our online member Christmas party as well. If you want to give yourself a gift for Christmas, there's still some adventures that you can book into as well. So I do hope to see you next Monday night. Thank you everyone for tuning in, and I look forward to catching up with you then. Thanks. Bye.